Uncivilized Vitality with a short video about an indispensable piece of winter gear, the scarf. Okay, so keeping your neck warm. Obviously, we talk a lot about hats, keeping your head warm. You have to have a dry beanie to sleep in, a hat to wear during the day, or a hat to keep sun off the top of your head, especially when you're getting a little thin on top as the centuries and decades pile. So I'm going to take my hat off for a minute and talk to you about the scarf. I just got back from a trip this weekend up north with one of our members who's off in the Army, is home on leave for the holidays. So we went up, did an overnight up near the Manistee, and it was just savage cold out there. And it made me think about an underutilized piece of gear. Now, there's a couple different things we use. Let me take this one off. If I can pull this one off. Right. A couple different pieces of gear that we can use, but you always want something around your neck. This is just a wool scarf. It's not even a couple feet long. Just fold it over, tuck it around your neck. Just give it a little twist or a fold over. Tuck it down inside your shirt or jacket. I mean, that's basically all you need. Cover the back, keep that the front covered, but mainly these large arteries and veins on the side of your neck. You want to keep that blood warm. Just having a scarf on will make a huge difference in the experience you have of being outside and cold. So it's a very important piece of gear. Let's say you forgot your scarf. Well, if you forgot your scarf, in the Uncivilized Vitality uniform, we always keep in our right breast pocket a silk morigami, or you'd know it as a silk bandana, a kerchief, a wild rag. It's just a big piece of silk, right? And you can wrap it over a few times. This one's new. I just grabbed it out of the storeroom. Let me get rid of that little tag. Okay, grabbed it out of there for this demonstration. So you have your silk wild rag. If you have a shirt that has a collar on it, you stand these collars up, and you can spin that silk rag down, flip it over the back of the collars, and then you can tie a small slipped knot. You don't want to tie a knot around something around your neck that can't be pulled off. And you can tuck that down through, and now you have a decorative slip knot. Now you notice this looks, probably you'll notice this looks pretty familiar. Right? I use that, tighten that little silk cravat or tie up to keep my collar pulled tight against my neck and act like a scarf. Since this is not as thick or as warm as the wool, I can use the silk, keep my collar tied up. And you can see that once upon a time, these were very popular and versatile, and eventually became what we think of today as a man's necktie, which is a useless piece of clothing, and it'd be much better if we just went back to wearing cravats or a silk bandana, or like cowboys do, the wild rag. And if this gets caught on something, it just pulls free, so don't get hung up. You can also wear this actually cowboy style by keeping the folded into a triangle. Gather up the long end a little bit, put that part right in your throat, cross the ends in the back, again around that collar or maybe next to your skin. Bring that back around the front. Tie another small slip knot. I'll just tie a quick one. Pull the collar forward, or that triangle part forward, to sort of hide that. So you got this little scarf here. You can improvise that with your silk. If you're going to be out on a campaign, there's a couple other things you can do. One is to use what's called, and I never say this right, a skjaldarharmon, or a sewn hood. Okay, you'll recognize this in a moment when I put it on. I made this one out of an old Army surplus blanket. It's just a hood. It's pretty easy to sew, and when you put them on, not only does it cover, move the microphone, not only does it cover my shoulders and my chest and my back, and it comes all the way down. I can pull this up. It forms a scarf function, but I've got an optional hood function as well. So I can throw that up and pull my whole head and face inside this, and it's quite warm. And then I can wear this under my coat or over my coat. And you'll see this a lot probably at Renaissance fairs or reenactments and such. I made myself a much thinner one made of merino wool that I typically put on under my shirt or my coat. So I got that extra layer of merino wool, and I keep the hood just kind of bunched up around my neck. But if it gets cold, I can supplement my hat by flipping that up. Or like last night when it got down -4 or whatever, and we just had the one blanket, I tucked this down over my head, and I was able to keep the direct wind off my face, so it didn't get as frigid, and I could kind of let some of the water vapor out down here, and it didn't get that wet, honestly. Combine that with my hat. Usually though, if I'm just headed up to the office or something, I'll grab this piece of merino wool and just flip it around, tuck it in like a scarf under my jacket or hoodie. So you can sew a heavy-duty scarf, medieval hood, or a lightweight merino wool. You got your silk, you got an actual scarf. Then there's always the tried and true morigami or shamog style piece of cotton, a cotton bandana. You fold that in half so you get that triangular shape. Start at the base, fold that down a bit, and do the same thing you did with your silk scarf. But since this is much bulkier, you can just wrap that up and over, tuck that under, and now you've got quite the layer of material around your neck. And even though it's cotton and cotton kills, we don't wear cotton in the winter, except sometimes we do. I will wear a cotton shamog or a bandana around my neck in the winter just because it's bulky and it cuts down on the wind, and it will absorb some moisture throughout the day. But being a relatively loose or thin weave, usually at camp I'll switch that out with my hood when I get to camp, and I just put this up in the breeze and it dries off really quickly. Plus there are obviously 1,000 other uses to have a morigami or a shamog with you at camp. And then a final option for scarf is our Uncivilized multi-hood, which is really just a giant buff. Well, you know, a buff is a good idea too. I should have brought one out to show you. Just a tubular piece of a neck gaiter that comes all the way down, just encircles your neck. A lot of people like those. I find it gaps here and leaves part of my throat exposed because it won't go down over my shoulders, and it rides up on my neck. So I prefer a scarf. I use my buff for a hat. But this large kind of buff, not only do we use this for, you know, an improvised haversack. The reason we call it a multi-hood is because it has a multiplicity of uses, but I can just hang it around my neck, flip it inside out, flip that up over my head, and now, like a lady's infinity scarf, I've got an oversized scarf, but man, is this warm. And then if I need to, I can pull a little piece free and pop that up over. So again, I've got kind of a scarf hood combination. Not as neat as neatly put together as the one I had sewn, those few I had sewn. But as far as field expediency goes, these are great. And then I can use this for other things. I can wad this up at night and use it for a headrest. I can use it as a sling bag. Again, I don't want to get started. Hundreds of uses for this. We have other videos on the use of the multi-hood. Many, many videos on the use of the shamog. And then the silk cravat or wild rag or morigami. If you have no interest in those things, at the very least, just get yourself a short wool scarf, wrap it around, tuck it into your shirt, use that to keep your neck warm. Right? You got to have a scarf when you're out in Michigan or anywhere in the winter or the coming into the winter season. So that's it for today. Hope you have a happy new year. Hope you enjoyed Monday's video when Santa Claus made an appearance. We ran into him up north too. It bears an uncanny resemblance to myself. And my friend Matt looks just like that elf, McTwinkle Toes or Glitter Buns or whatever his name was. I don't remember. So hit the like button, turn on the notifications, share the channel. Happy Christmas, Merry New Year. And that's it.